Hello, everyone, and welcome to yet another edition of the Wrap-Up. This is Wrap-Up number 52, Dan.
All right.
Next week marks 1 year of gracing yourself with my presence and vice versa. And we're pretty juiced to have the 1 year anniversary. Thank you to all of our viewers. All of you. That's
Time
right.
flies, doesn't it?
Oh, when you're having fun, Dan. When you're
loving
having
Detroit sports like we are.
Like we are. I was a little bit nervous come Saturday
Speaking of anniversaries, right?
when the Red Wings were, they really needed to win to get into the postseason. They lost. But the godsend Ottawa Senators came through and said, "We got you, boys," with a 6-1 big mollywhopping, as Terry Foster would say, over the Boston Bruins. The Bruins get booed off their home ice on a game they needed to have. They lose, so that means your Detroit Red Wings are third in the Atlantic Division, and they will play the Tampa Bay Lightning in the first round of the 2016 Stanley Cup playoffs. Dan, the Red Wings match up well against Tampa Bay this year. The home team has won each of the 4 games. 2-2 is their record, home team winning both. What do you see happening in this series, Dan?
Well, first of all, I want to go back to the last game of the season. Is that the Wings really should have won that game, especially the last 2 minutes. It was, 6-on-3 for the last
20 seconds.
20
there.
seconds.
But let me interrupt here real fast. Abdelkader's pass there in front. I had a topic I wanted to bring up later, but you bring up that last game, and now it sets me off. Jeff Blashill, brain dead during that. You can't pull Jimmy Howard with 3 minutes left in the offensive zone, and you don't even have the puck, Dan. That made no sense to me. I could see if you had the puck maybe 45 seconds later. You're not down 2 goals.
Right.
The score is 2-1, and you've been owning play since the beginning of the second period. And you pull him, and right away they come down and score. And to me, that's And then, so then you score a quick power play goal. Was that Riley Sheahan who got that?
Yes.
And so, now it's 3-2, and you're still pressuring. Then you get a power play, 6-on-4. Then you get another penalty. It's now 6-on-3. And where are your top 2 goal scorers? On the bench. Dylan Larkin, 23 goals, bench. Tomas Tatar, 21 goals, bench. Makes no sense. Justin Abdelkader gets the puck in the slot, dumps it back blindly right through the mouth of the D, goes all the way down the ice. The Red Wings don't even have a chance at that point. I blame Jeff Blashill for that loss. The Red Wings played good enough to win a game when the Rangers really didn't want to win.
No,
Lundqvist on
they
the
did
bench.
everything they
Dan
could.
Girardi on the bench. Ryan McDonough on the bench. Victor Stallman on the
Yes.
bench. I can't even Stahlberg. See, can't even think. Oh, and not to mention Matt Zuccarello, their leading scorer, bench.
Well, let's talk about who should have been on the bench for that power play, too. Is when Abdelkader dumped it down. From what I assume, he was trying to get to the point man for a nice, solid shot.
But the point was in position. You can't blame Mike Green for not being there.
Right, but wasn't
Abdelkader
Cromwell
didn't
out there,
look.
too?
I didn't see. He might have been.
I remember Cromwell being out there because something goes off in my head like this rage or something, whatever's going
I'm
on.
not a Cromwell fan.
I
I'm
am not
sorry.
either. And to see him out there, I think with both goals that they scored.
Cromwell, minus 21 on the year for the Red
And
Wings, just so you know.
Why was he
Worst
like you were
on the
saying?
team.
Yeah, absolutely.
Well,
I
from your
still don't-
number 1 defenseman to have the worst plus-minus on the roster,
Yeah. Well, for the last 2 minutes of the game, he shouldn't have been out there. Maybe for about 10 seconds to let those guys maybe recuperate. But even that's being gratuitous. The fact that he was out there really irked me. I
Irked you.
really have to choose my words wisely when I'm talking about.
you are
guys like-
suitable for work. You are not NSFW.
Yes, exactly.
But what I didn't like, it's 6-on-3. Your season's hanging in the balance. You can't, if you're going to put one D-man out there for 20 seconds, you put Mike Green.
Right.
He scored 30 goals in the NHL not too long ago. And then you go with 5 forwards.
Exactly.
You got to have Pavel. He can win you the draw, which he did. Datsuk. Tatar. There's 2. Mike Green on the point. Then Tatsuk, all right? Tatar, Nyquist, Larkin. That's 5. You could put anyone then.
Yeah.
You could put Richards at that other point. You could put Sheahan. He's got a good shot. He's been red hot. You could even put Abdelkader for his big body presence. You could really put anyone out there at that point. Double A. No, sorry. He only plays 6 minutes a game. The most flashy player on the team.
One of the fastest, too.
The fastest. They said he's faster than Larkin.
Yep.
Faster than Helm. I don't get it. I don't like his smirk. I don't like anything about Blashill right now. Someone urinated in the Kool-Aid for me. I don't like it. I don't.
And on top of that, I think it was 19.4 seconds to be specific.
19.9.
Thank you.
Yeah, trust me.
We're all about numbers.
Trust
here at
me,
the
I
Wrap-Up.
was so superstitious. I wore my same Red Wings tie that I wore every game that they won last week. I stayed inside, turned off my phone, didn't want any bothers, and then not to mention when I started to get real jittery, I made myself a nice ginger ale.
There you go.
As Mickey Redmond would say, to soothe the nerves a little bit, and it worked.
But what really, really made me mad was when we had that 19 seconds. They ended up getting iced. They obviously missed the empty net, but I don't know who it was. Maybe it was Green. I think it was Cronwall. It would make more sense when it was Cronwall.
Absolutely.
Taking his time getting back to the ice. You got 19 seconds left. You got, you're up by at least 2 guys with the penalties going on.
6 on 3 at that point.
6 on 3. You're up by 3 guys.
Mm-hmm.
And you're taking it around the net to set up a play. You take it down there as fast as possible. You fire it on the net, and that's the positive. That's the bonus, having these 3 guys rebound city, and you should have had it in the net. And it, like you going back, it really shouldn't have been 3-1 at one point.
I blame Jeff Blashill for the 3rd goal.
Right.
And it just irks me. And obviously you can say another thing that really upset me was the fact that Joachim Andersen played in that game.
Right.
He scored a goal early in the game. He scored the first goal. But it was clearly offside. Mm-hmm. You can't argue it. Andersen should have realized that. And Glendening tried to get it over to him as quick as possible. If he keeps that back foot down, then it's plain and simple. It's, I don't know. It just, you got to be aware of your surroundings at that point to me. And he only played 1:41 seconds.
Yeah.
Why let a guy come up from the minors and play 1:41 seconds?
Right.
What, Mantha, that's a whole new can of worms.
Mm-hmm.
Ken Holland released a statement this week saying Anthony Mantha doesn't hustle in practice, and he's a spare part to the team. And why do you think he would excel here at this level? All right, I didn't go to GM school. I didn't go to anything. But if you're trying to help one of your young first-round draft picks, mind you,
Right.
you don't say those things to the media, whether you think it or not. That kills the guy's confidence.
And on top of that, for a team that just barely made it into the playoffs, who might be, I mean, not all of them, but might be having a confidence problem.
Mm-hmm.
And then you didn't even touch on the last thing he said was when he was talking about, the Griffins winning, and you go, oh, he was just a minor piece of that.
Spare part.
Spare part?
Yeah.
Spare part? Are you kidding me? Do you really want to say that? I mean, that's just, all right, you're trying to make a point. That's taking the dagger and turning it.
Yeah.
So there's obviously more that we don't know about this.
To me, Ken Holland has lost it. He's lost this team. Yeah. I think when Jim Nill left to go to the Dallas Stars, that was a huge blow to the Red Wings. Yeah. I think Jim Nill was the straw that stirred this drink. They call it the Detroit Red Wings. Look what he did immediately to Dallas.
Yeah, how are they doing right now?
Oh, weird. They just won the Western Conference. Best team. Oh, crazy.
Great.
He immediately goes and gets Tyler Seguin.
Mm-hmm.
And what did he do? He moved Louis Eriksson. Ken Holland, you probably don't watch us because you're just a spare part. All right? This program is way too big for you. All right? Let me tell you something. Okay, you need to give up talent to get talent. Plain and simple. You're not going to, we'll trade you a 6th-round pick for Chris Kunitz. No. All right? Here's what you need to do in the offseason. Clearly, you got to trade Anthony Mantha because he's a spare part here. If Ken Holland stays, Mantha's gone. That's fine. Okay? You can trade him because it's going to take something to get something in return. Don't trade him for some draft picks. We need NHL-ready players now. We need a number 1 defenseman. We need a top 6 forward. And we need a backup goaltender. Because you cannot go into next season with Peter Mrazek and Jimmy Howard. I love that Jimmy Howard has won the starting job going into the playoffs for his trade value. Mm-hmm. Win us a series. Stand on your head. It's just going to make it much more easy to trade.
Increase your value.
Peter Mrazek's the guy of the future. I don't care what anyone says. Well, Jimmy's playing well. No one's going to want that contract. Yeah, but if they see Wings win 2 rounds of the playoffs, because let's face it, if they get by Tampa, Florida, or the Islanders wait in the 2nd round, the Wings have fared pretty darn well against both teams.
Yeah, we'll take that in.
Our division is very weak, and it's anyone's ball game. The Wings even have a chance. Tampa has a chance. The Islanders, the wild card team, has a chance. Anyone's game in this division. Now, do I think anyone's going to get by Washington after that? Absolutely not. The only team that can beat Washington in the Eastern Conference is their first-round opponent, the Philadelphia Flyers. The Western Conference looks great. But back to the Red Wings. Trade Jimmy Howard. You have to. And this is great that he's playing well. This is really good. You need to go out and I think get a veteran backup goalie. I think Gustafsson would be a great fit. Did he play well Saturday? No, but he played well for us. He gave up 6 goals to Ottawa. He's thinking of us. He's like, if I go back there, I'm going to have to do him a solid today. Good for him. I think he's a very serviceable backup. It's a shame that he had the injury problems when he was here. He had great numbers this year. He had better numbers than Tuukka Rask. Yep. So I think he'd be a very serviceable guy. If you want to go young to push Peter Mrazek, that's fine too. I'd like a guy with some more experience. But defense is terrible, and we need D. Yeah. And I don't care what we have to give up. If that means moving Tatar or Nyquist, move them. They've both been disappointments this year. Mm-hmm. But if you had to move one of them, Dan, who would you move of those two guys?
Right now, I think I'd have to go with Tatar. I mean, I don't want to see him go, but him and Nyquist, I think both have increased trade value. But I think, Mantha, he's been in such demand that, we've held out trading him for so long, and now it's on the discussion table as far as whether or not we're going to get him. I think him and Howard, going on the trading block could be really beneficial for this team. And, if we want to get rid of a Tatar or Nyquist, that would be even better. And we would have a lot to work with. They're just, two huge guys that we can get rid of who have value. And the fact that, we're not going to trade them or, they're not talking about it. Granted, it is the playoffs right now. I think that could be very, very beneficial for this team should we be able to push them for somebody.
I'd pick Nyquist over Tatar. I think there's more upside there. But either one, tomato, tomato. What I really hope doesn't happen is they're content because they made the playoffs. The streak lives on to 25 years. They're like, let's see what we can do next year. To me, you got to move names.
Right.
Trade a Cronwall. He's only got a couple years left.
If you can.
If you can. If a team says, whoa, we could use this veteran, like maybe a Calgary or a Winnipeg. Jacob Trouba is going to be a free agent this year. He's a local boy. I'd love to see him come here. Kyle Quincy's an unrestricted free agent. I'd bring him back for the right price. $2 million. He's making $4.5 million this year. Not worth it. Had a good year. But I know a lot of people think he's a turd around here, but not me, surprisingly. And I'm very hard to please when it comes to players. Brendan Smith should be in the lineup over Jonathan Ericsson.
Yeah.
Terrible. And that game, why would you go with your old veterans over young guys on the bench? Joachim Anderson has scored 0 shorthanded goals in his 205 NHL games. And they put him in because he's a burst when on the PK. How about Andreas Athanasiou? He's scored 1 this year, and he's only played in 30-some-odd games. How about Timu Pulkkinen, who I'm not a fan of? He brings speed, quick legs, and a shot. Something Joachim Anderson has none of. Even Yurko would have been an improvement from Anderson. Not to mention Anthony Mantha, who I would have loved to see. The power play was surging when he was here, when he was playing, that is. And then they took him out of the lineup, and immediately the power play goes back to crud. So plain and simple, I don't like the movement that they made. I disagree with the coaching. I do want to get to the Tampa Bay Lightning injuries. Victor Hedman's not 100%. Nikita Kucherov is not 100%. They're both expected to play. Tyler Johnson is expected to play. He got injured on Saturday, a boarding penalty against Montreal. It was questionable if he was going to play. He's day-to-day, questionable but expected to play. And Ryan Callahan, also not 100%. But they are without Anton Strowman, second best defenseman, and Steven Stamkos, obviously a dynamo. Yeah. I think the Red Wings stack up at least competitive against Tampa Bay.
Yeah, and there's going to be a complete reshuffle with these lines and just the team together. There's a lot of guys missing. There's a lot of insecurities I think going on in that locker room too. That I think the Wings really need to take advantage of, and they can if they're smart about it. So the whole thing is to work smart, not hard. But we'll see how it goes.
And obviously the news comes out now. Pavel Datsyuk expected to go back to Russia at the end of this year. He comes out on Monday and says, whoa, I never said I'm leaving for sure. I just said I would like to go back to Russia, but nothing's set in stone. Mitch Albom wrote the big article. We all know what he's all about. Dan clearly not pleased once I name dropped.
Big fan of
Mitch
his.
Albom interviewed Pavel Datsyuk last Wednesday after the game against Philly. He only agreed to do the interview if they said they would not release it until the end of the regular season. Datsyuk, obviously being a team player, focusing on extending the streak and a playoff run. He says he wants to go back to Russia, as he has a teenage daughter there, and he's kind of abandoned her to be here. He goes there in the off season. He went there during the lockout in 2012, and he really liked it ever since. He's really battled his demons and really wanted to go back home. He has 1 year left on his contract. It would be a $7.5 million cap hit. Either way, because of the 35-year clause, players over the age of 35, it's a complete guaranteed money and a cap hit, 100%. So it would kind of screw the Red Wings over if he does indeed go back to Russia. I wouldn't be completely upset if he does. He's done due time. He has 314 goals, 604 assists. He's a .96 points per game player in his career with 919 points. To me, he's done his time. If he stays for one more year, you retire 13. If he leaves, you don't.
Right.
Plain and simple. But you can't knock him. I just wish that there was a way, because you can get a superstar for $7.5 million. You can go get two very good players in this league for that money. But we'll find out as the months and the weeks go on and the Wings go deeper into the playoffs, as I hope they do.
Yeah, as we both do. Yeah, and I'm a little irked about this whole article coming out. I'm not sure about as far as how the terms went as far as this interview. If it was up to me personally, I would not be talking about anything but the playoffs right now. I think there's more of a story of what Ken Holland said to Mantha, and I think if you're a good writer, you might pick that out and sort of save that interview for after. But that's just whatever. Anyways, it does frustrate me though. When his contract was up, there was a lot of talk about, whispers around local media talking about getting rid of him and seeing what we get for him, because we don't know how long his next contract is going to be at the time, and I think we really could have benefited. But that's water under the bridge. It's down the road. Nothing we can do, but it still sort of irks me. There's even talks. Never mind. I'm not even going to go down that road.
You said water. You know who doesn't like water right now? That's Jordan Spieth. After that 12th hole of the final round of the Masters on Sunday, Jordan Spieth was up by as many as 5 strokes until the 12th hole on Amen Corner came around. That's a par 3, where he does not strike an 8-iron that well, and it hits the bank, goes into the water. There's a penalty stroke. Jordan Spieth battles with his mind and says, where do I drop this? He later said he should have gone to the drop area where he for sure could have just pumped a wedge onto the green. Instead, he does not. He strategizes and chunks a shot into the water again. Then he blades his next shot over the green, into the sand, and gets a quadruple bogey on a par 3. That's a 7. He then dropped 2 more bogeys and then lost the tournament. The tournament that he had won. And you could just see his face, because the prior winner has to put the green jacket on the current winner. He had to put the jacket on. Danny Willett, the Englishman, who shot 5 under, really played very well. 5 under, he was even going in. 5 under for the tournament, 5 under on the day as well. And Jordan Spieth putting that jacket on just looked like a bummed out kid who just lost his best dog. It was quite sad, and there's been memes galore about that. It's quite funny. But his last 5 majors, Jordan Spieth, won, second place, and then tied for second in the Masters. So he's been a top 2 finisher in his last 5, but he still said he would be disappointed rather than say, look, I still finished in second place on this. And I'd be disappointed as well if I were in his shoes.
Oh, absolutely. You saw it perfectly as he was walking towards the clubhouse at the end, just keep the camera out of my face. You shoot from behind, but, they didn't want the close-up. It kind of rubbed me the wrong way as far as, his attitude. But, when you got to pass that jacket off that you were so close to winning like you did the year before, that was brutal. But, that was great golf watching. That was just, I'm not the biggest golf fan, but, that Sunday day at the Masters was just, it had me glued to the TV. It was incredible how just the shift of momentum turned. And obviously it's just a beautiful course to watch, and the playing was incredible. And I was really happy that Danny Willett won.
No.
Here we go.
No.
I liked him.
Who's Danny Willett?
Exactly, but
No.
then again, who was Jordan Spieth?
No.
Who was Rory? Okay.
You got to root for the stars and stripes, Dan. That's just, oh man, next week we will have a different host with me, and it won't be an English supporter. See, this guy's wearing.
What are these socks looking like over here?
Pull your sock up. Yeah.
Can you see that?
That's the English flag. This guy's
That's my
a traitor.
support for Danny. Good name.
Here's Benedict over here, Arnold. Man, it's.
That's a first.
Dan, I'm sweating right now. I'm trying to hold back my true feelings right now. No, I was pulling for Dustin Johnson.
Yeah.
I love a guy that can hit the ball far. He's got a little Bradley Cooper look to him. Good-looking dude. Man Crush Monday. What up? How you doing? I know he's an avid watcher of the show.
Yeah.
He told me he was going to wear his Sunday pink for me, the Adidas, and he did. So, Dustin,
In reply, you showed support by.
I showed
doing that
support for saying, I know you didn't do as well as you wanted to do, but I'll wear my Monday pink for you. And here we are. We're going to actually hit the golf course on Tuesday. We're going to be playing up at Oakland University, me and DJ. Come on out. We'll be signing autographs there. We won't, but I'll be there if anyone wants to degrade anything. I'll sign it for you. It'll be worth less when I'm done with it. No, but in all reality, the youth movement in this game is just absolutely incredible. Dustin Johnson, I mean, he's not as young as some of these other guys like Spieth. Smiley Kaufman comes out of nowhere, plays in the final group, shot 9 over. It's a shame because he played so well the first 3 days. Bryson DeChambeau, the amateur. Oh, man, just the list goes on. And
I liked watching Lee Westwood. I thought he was doing terrific for a minute.
He had a chance there at the end, chip in eagle, and then it's a shame that he 3-putted that par 3. But it's just so golf has just evolved into a game that most people are like, oh, it's very boring, but it's really picked up intensity, and you see it all over Twitter, and younger people are starting to really pick up on the game, and it's good for the game, really. And I think Jordan Spieth has a lot to do with, attracting these young people to the game and making, from what they wear, like Ricky Fowler's wearing joggers out on the course. And then you get a whole different demographic. Why, oh, man, he's wearing joggers? I can go golf. So, it really opens up a whole new, leeway to see, hey, what's happening here? What is this golf game? And they're bringing somewhat swag, I guess you will, to the game of golf.
Right. Yeah, this youth movement is definitely beneficial for it. Growing up, I know you and I watching it, you had these older guys.
Ernie Els, 7-putted the first.
Yeah, Ernie Els. You had who was the
Vijay
Shark?
Singh.
Yeah, VJ.
The Shark.
Greg Norman.
Tiger Woods, obviously. David
he
Duval.
was younger. But,
Furyk.
Yep.
John
Phil
Daly.
Mickelson. John Daly. That was.
John Daly. Yeah.
You never knew what you were going to get with John Daly on the course.
Yeah.
Especially,
So the list goes on. It was
all.
all older men, and now you got these young kids saying, "This is a young."
This guy's about my age. I could probably be out doing this. It's not that far fetched. Just
Dan, Jordan Spieth isn't your age. Hate to say it.
We're going down that road again, huh?
Are we going to cut to commercial
I
here?
know we really could
come back with a couple.
go one
black-
episode without talking about my age, but
You know who is also pretty young? The Pistons, and they're in the playoffs. Well, we got to touch on the Stones. They're
Absolutely.
likely going to be the 8th seed, the last team in. Pacers are probably going to hop them with a couple games remaining this week to be the 7th seed. But the Pistons are playing the Cavaliers, who they've matched up really well with this year. So far, they played them 3 times, and the Pistons have won 2 of those 3 games. They met back in November at the beginning of the year. They won 104-99 at the Palace. They played them again in February, or end of January at home, lost 114-106. And then in their building, at the Q, Quicken Loans Arena in Cleveland, the Pistons beat them at the end of February, 96-88. So look out. Still have to play one more time. Last game of the year coming up this week. But the Stones could steal a series or steal a couple games and make this a series. I know LeBron's a whole different player come playoffs, but just the fact that playoff basketball is back in Motown is huge, and I think it's good for this team to at least get experience in the postseason. Whether they win any games or not, I think it'll be good for the game, good for the team.
I think they have definitely a fighting chance to beat this team. The one thing I'm worried about is just some of the actions off the court that are going on.
Drummond.
Andre Drummond. I think he continues this. I think there's a good chance we should move him. It could be a real cancer to the team, and we'll see how they gel and they mesh, with this playoff run. But I'm really optimistic. I really think they can make a move. It's LeBron's team essentially. You can take him down, you can take down the rest of the team. They'll, take one brick down, the rest of the castle crumbles.
It's like Jenga,
That's what I'm looking for. Thank you.
Drinking Jenga.
There you go.
And Andre Drummond's at the free throw line. It looks like he's been drinking.
Yeah, and that's embarrassing.
It really is. And he gets pulled, and Stan Van Gundy did have his back, like a good coach would. Ken Holland and Jeff Blashill need to take note. See how Stan said he's just a little frustrated with the free throws. He thinks he'll be fine. I hope that's the case. He said he was thinking about, his friend that had passed away the previous week. If that happens, so be it. You're a professional athlete, though. You got to close that out, and you got to do whatever it takes to let this team win. And he will be a free agent at the end of the year. Likely the Pistons are going to have to give him a max $120 million contract. I don't know. I think you got to give it to him and then decide if you're going to move him after that, because you can't let him walk like they did with Greg Monroe. And I don't know, but the Stones, playoffs, it's a great thing in Auburn Hills.
Yeah, it's a great thing. Yeah, absolutely, for these Detroit teams, for sure. The Tigers are looking pretty solid, too.
They started well. Don't forget, though, the Tigers started 9-0 last year. And here they are. Everyone got excited at 3-0. And then they dropped a pretty bad game on Saturday. Mike Pelfrey looked blind. It was rough. It was real bad. I thought he was a disgrace from the moment they signed him. He lasted just 3 2/3, got knocked around pretty good. When Didi Gregorius is going yard against you, it's a struggle. But Justin Verlander had a no-hitter into the 6th inning on the first game of the year against the Marlins. That was cool. Then the wheels kind of fell off, and K-Rod blows the save. And I think the closer position of the Tigers is just cursed. Doesn't matter who you bring in, they're not going to close out games. His ERA is 27 through 2 games that he's pitched. He loads the bases. His whip's through the roof. I don't know. I hope he rights the ship. It's early, obviously, 159 more games or what have you. I'm not going to jump conclusions, say he's garbage right now. Pelfrey has time, although he's had many years to right his ship, and he's a career-losing pitcher with an ERA north of 5. I'm not sold on the Tigers, but it's fun that baseball's back. It's April in the D, and I'm excited to see what the team can do this year, whether they do well or not. It's baseball, and it's a great environment to watch. A team that hopefully can make a run.
Absolutely. Yeah, I'm being optimistic about it. I really don't think they will be, but we'll see. But yeah, like you said, it's great to, have baseball back, even though the weather's not really acting like it. But, you do see some glimpses of hope in the Tigers organization. But, it's TBD, to be determined. We'll see how it goes.
Well, Dan Myers, we got to go get training. We are going to be running in a 5K this week at Cherry Creek Golf Course. The Glow Run, Saturday, 8 p.m. We'll really be there. Dan,
show up.
May the best man win. Hopefully we both finish.
I just want to finish.
And hopefully we'll be alive on next week's edition of the Wrap Up. And we won't need Life Alert.
Yeah.
Dan has a discount because frequent flyer miles at Life Alert. For Dan Myers, I'm Nick Muckler saying goodbye, hopefully not for the final time.
Nice shot.